Serie A season is coming to an end. Why? Because there's one more game, guys. It was supposed to end this weekend, but both Verona and Spezia lose their games. There's going to be a playoff game. Who goes in Serie A B, the last relegation spot? We'll take a look at it. We'll talk about it. Today, we're doing Il Pagellone, the review of the Serie A, team by team, alphabetical order. So please stay tuned for the entire video and listen to what I say about your team. Let me know what you think about your team's performance this season. Guys, Napoli, phenomenal. Full of surprises this year, Serie A. Bologna, good season. Sampdoria, horrible. Milan, so-so. Juve, Roma, Lazio, incredible. So we'll talk about it. So let's start right away. Atalanta, guys. Once again, a good season for Atalanta. A positive season for Atalanta. Last year, they didn't qualify for any European competition. This year, they're back in Europa League, finishing ahead of Roma in back of the top four. Guys, once again, a model for the smaller to medium teams on how to operate a team off the field. Guys, buying well, selling even better, and that's what they do. Every season, a lot of young kids, a lot of young talent. Holland was fantastic. Hoyland was fantastic. Some good positive season. Gasperini, is he going to stay? Is he going to leave? That's the big question mark. Atalanta would like to keep him. He might want to move on to something bigger. We'll see, but just a positive model for the other teams, guys. Atalanta, very good. Bologna, I gave them a 7. 7. They finished 9th, guys. Only 2 points behind Fiorentina and a point ahead of Torino. Teams that on paper were so much better than them. And it was a hard start to the season. The Sinisa Mihajlovic situation with his health, with his passing. They had to replace him with Thiago Motta. Thiago Motta comes in, does a fantastic job. Like I said, they finished 9th. Good on them. A positive season. Just like Gasperini, will he stay next year? That's the big question. We'll see what happens. But for sure, Saputo will be happy with the Bologna season. Cremonese, guys, 4-. Why? Relegated. First year in Serie A, but only 5 wins, guys. You can't go anywhere with just 5 wins in Serie A. And so the only team that actually did worse than them was Sampdoria, which was a bigger disappointment. So Cremonese, guys, 4-, relegation, official. They're going back to Serie B. Empoli, I give them a 6. A 6+, guys. Why? Because they finished 14th, but they were never really in danger of relegation. So for them, the objective, of course, every season is to make Serie A the year after. They had a good coach. The young stars did very well. Parisi, Baldanzi, all very good. So they accomplished their mission. So they get a 6+. Fiorentina, guys, I gave them a 7. They finished 8th. A very good season for them. Italiano, guys, they took a bit of time for him to put everybody together. But once they started going, they did fairly well. And so, plus, let's say they're doing the final of the Conference League. And if they do win the Conference League, it's going to be a very positive season. That means that they go into the Europa League next season, guys. Very important. So they still have a big objective. So I give them a 7 for this season. Like I said, Comiso, since he's gotten the team, has invested in the team. He gets better every season. And even if he loses important pieces like Chiesa, like Vlahovic, he reinvests in the team. And for them, a very, very positive season. Verona, 5-. 5-, why? Because they're battling for relegation with Spezia. Showed no interest in this game against Milan, even though Spezia at one point was tying. They didn't seem like they wanted it more than anything. Only 7 wins this season, guys. 31 points. Horrible. And now they go into this game against Spezia. They might actually save themselves. We'll see. But to me, 5- this year. As I change page, because there's a lot of notes. Inter get a 7+ that can actually go up to 10. Let's be honest. Inter, very inconsistent in the first half of the season, but mostly in Serie A this year. Was a hard calciomercato for them as well. But in Champions League, guys, they had a very tough group in the group stage. They came out on top. They move on to the finals of the Champions League. Incredible. If they bring home the Champions League year this season, it's a 10. So 7+ for now. But if it goes to the Champions League win, it's going to go for a 10, at least for me. I can't stand them, but a smart calciomercato with a very low budget. Mkhitaryan, Çalhanoğlu, Onana, all key players that are doing so well for them. They didn't spend a penny to bring them in. Very smart, guys. 7+. Juventus gets a 5. Forget the -10. But overall, the season was horrible. The first 3 months of the season were horrible. Yes, they figure it out in the second half. Yes, they accumulate points. Allegri never gives a sense of play to this team. A lot of 1-0s, il cortomuso, it works. However, it's not enough. And we saw even in the Champions League, guys, the group stages were horrible. They get eliminated in a group with Benfica, with PSG, and I don't remember the last team. Anyways, horrible. They played the semifinals of Europa League. Even then, I think they could have gone to the finals. They didn't. So overall, guys, a lot of missed objectives. Yes, if they wouldn't have the -10, they would have been a bit higher in Serie A. They would have qualified for the champions. But if we look at everything together, just a 5, guys. Lazio finishes second, gets a 8 for me. Why? They finished second in Serie A. On paper, inferior to Inter, Milan, Roma, Juve. They are on paper inferior to these teams. Plus, Immobile this season didn't have a very good season. And so Sarri, on a very smart calciomercato with Provedel, with Romagnoli, with Casale, with a solid defense, one of the best in Serie A, gains second spot in Serie A and goes to the Champions League next season. Very important. Lecce gets a 6.5. Newly promoted team, guys, had the smallest budget in Serie A. Yes, they battled all season, some good, some bad performances, but overall, they stick to it. They win some important games and they remain in Serie A, which is their biggest objective, guys. Lecce, for me, 6.5. They finished 16th. Milan, I was going to give it a 6-. I will be honest. I was going to give it a 6-. I gave it a 6+ at the end. Why? Because the second half of the season is to throw in the garbage, guys. Yes, they went to the semifinals of the Champions League, and this is why the plus comes in. But let's be honest, that second half, guys, mid-table team, like they didn't do much. If it wasn't for that first half and the points they accumulated in the first half, that second part of the season was going to be horrible. Leao finishes with 15 goals. I think he's 4th on the leaderboard for goals this season. They sign him for another 5 years. That was very important. But overall, guys, not enough. Very inconsistent, especially in Serie A. We didn't see that determination that we saw in the Champions League. And more importantly, 4 losses. 4 losses in derbies this season between the Coppa Italia, the Supercoppa, the Champions League games. Not enough. 6+ because I like them. So that would have been a 6-. Monza finished 11th. 52 points. They get an 8. Newly promoted side. They were this close to finishing on the left-hand side of the table. Top 10 position for them would have been incredible. They finished 11th. They came so close. They invested a lot of money. And more importantly, they were smart enough to recognize early on, I think they had the most horrible start, 0-5, I think something like that the coach they had wasn't good enough. They put in Palladino, and Palladino, guys, on fire. One of the best coaches in Serie A this season. And so they finished 11th. Awesome season. Galliani, Berlusconi, as always, geniuses. But Palladino, the work he did this year, guys, unbelievable. Napoli gets a 10. Napoli gets a 10 because they're the Serie A winners, because they had the best soccer in the entire Serie A, because they beat every single team at least once, and because after the calciomercato of last summer, everybody thought they were going to finish 10th. But no, Spalletti does a great job. They won the Scudetto, nothing to say. They're 3rd. They get a full 10, guys. Roma gets a 6-. They get a 6- because in Serie A, it was very, very, very hard for them. They finished 6th behind Atalanta. On paper, they had a better squad than Atalanta and Lazio. They finished behind them. The only thing that saves them a bit is the fact that they went to the Europa League finals. They lose on penalty shots. 2 European finals in a solar year. That's a great accomplishment. But Mourinho, just like Allegri, never gave any good ideas to this team. And if it wasn't for Dybala saving their butts a few times, I don't think they would have finished even in the European spots, guys. So Roma -6. Salernitana gets a 6.5. They finished 15th. This year, they don't need a miracle. Last year was a miracle. They did it. They saved themselves. This year, they didn't have to battle for those relegation spots. It was a comfortable season for them. And they actually did a good calciomercato, bringing in one of the best strikers in Serie A. Finished third this year, Dia, with 16 goals. He finished behind Lautaro Martinez and Osimhen, guys. Not nothing. So smart on them. Good mix of young and old. And good finish for them. Candreva as well. Good acquisto for them. Sampdoria, guys, 3-. 3- because not only was it a disaster off the field, it was a disaster on the field. And the only two people that I save on this team, I gotta be honest, was Quagliarella, legend of Serie A soccer, deserved a lot better this season, and Stankovic for the passion and heart that he put for this team on the bench the entire season, guys. But a horrible ending to a historical franchise in Serie A. We're far from the Mancinis and the Viallis of old, and all of this because Ferrero and the owners and everybody else made a complete mess of things, guys. A complete mess of things. Sassuolo get a 5+. As always, off the field, they're perfect. Carnavali selling very well, buying well as well. But on the field this year, guys, it was on and off. A lot of misses. Dionisi is a very good coach. But like I said, they finished 13th. They didn't battle for relegation or anything. But I think the expectation at Sassuolo was a bit higher. Spezia get a 5-. 5-. And I'm going to say 5-. Why? Because they had the qualification. They had the Serie A stay in hand. Now they go battle against Verona for the relegation. One game, spareggio. We see who goes down. But for a very long moment in that game against Roma, it was 1-1. They had that point that they needed. And they lost it at the end. Incredible. So for them, a 5-. Torino gets a 10 spot finish, guys. They do some good calciomercato with Miranchuk, with Vlasic. They lose Bremer. Juric on the bench is a very good coach. But if he doesn't start getting the players that he wants, that are functional to his project, they're not going to go nowhere. And I think they get a 10th spot, but let's be honest, I think they were going for more than that. Like I said, they had a better team than Bologna. They finished behind them. Fiorentina could have been almost there, but it didn't happen. So 10th spot for them. They finished on the left-hand side, but I think Cairo needs to start listening to Juric a lot more. To me, that's where it lacks. Honestly, I think if they give him the players that he needed, they would be a lot better. Udinese gets a 6-. Why? Because they finished 12th. Even them, finishing behind Monza. On paper, they had a better team. I think the expectations was to have a better season. I'm not saying European positions because that's not where they are. But a top 10 finish, I think, could have been possible. I don't know. They stay in Serie A. It was never really a question. But I think for them, it could have been better. So 6-. Let me know what you think. Write in the comments. What do you think about the Pagellone? Did I give the right marks? Let me know. Don't be shy. Tell me in the comments. Have a great soccer day.